If you're looking for a great sword fighting game and you own a PlayStation 2, then you owe it to yourself to play Kengo, Master of Bushido. Kengo came out in the year 2000 and it is the first of its series, and I've played some of the other ones. Kengo Master of Bushido is the only one that's available on PS2 in the United States. The others you'd have to import. I had a few of those. I played some of them, and they were alright. They weren't as good as the first one, and then there was the abomination of Kengo Zero on the Xbox 360. That game, all of the other games, they captured some of the techniques that you can use in the original Kengo game, but it really fails to compare to this original Kengo game. None of them can do that because here you get to customize your character and your character grows the more you play. In the beginning of this game, you pick from 3 different characters, and then you're traveling around Japan, going to different schools, and challenging their leaders. Now, for the most part in this game, you don't use a katana. You use a bokken, which is a wood practice sword, and you are inside of these dojos participating in these sparring matches. So you go inside the dojo, you challenge the teacher at the school, but you can't just get up and fight the teacher. You've got to fight the students, and then you've got to fight the second in command at the school, and then you fight the teacher. And by then, it's a big gauntlet. Every time you go to one of these schools, it's a gauntlet where your HP doesn't refill. It gains a little bit more, but it will never refill completely, and it is tough. The AI here is great. They can counter your attacks, they can block your attacks, they can roll around you, you can roll around them, and they really can make it challenging for you from the beginning of the game all the way to the end of the game. It stays challenging. Now, once you get up and you beat all of these students and then the assistant teacher at the school, you fight the teacher himself. Now, that's when you can learn a new ability, or after the match is over. What I really liked about this is once the match is finished, sometimes it really depends on what school you go to, or possibly just your chances when playing it, or maybe something you do in battle. Sometimes after you defeat the teacher, the students will follow you home, and they'll ambush you in the streets, and they'll fight you with their actual swords. You won't fight them with your bokken because you'll use your sword. Now, what's so great about the combat when you're using a sword versus a bokken in this game is that it's a completely different type of match altogether. When you use your bokken, you're trying to knock the person out or make them lose all of their HP, but when you use a sword, you can make them bleed. If you strike them in their chest, or if you strike them in their neck or head, they will bleed, and their HP will drain a lot, and it really adds another element of excitement to the gameplay. So in the story mode here, you're going through these different schools and you're fighting them, and you beat them. Then you unlock new abilities, and you also unlock new swords, depending on which schools you go through and which schools you beat. So as you're getting stronger, as your stats are raising each time you go through a different school, you reach your potential fairly quickly, so you have to do something to raise your potential so that you can become stronger. And here we have the minigames. I really love the minigames within Kengo. Now, there are some games here which you can do, such as meditating under a waterfall, another type of meditation where you gotta try and not fall asleep there. If you do, a monk will whack you over the head. There's one where you're going through the woods and you're cutting down bamboo shoots. There's one where you have your bokken and you're trying to break this log in half, and you gotta do like QTE events where you gotta press the buttons correctly. Now, these mini games were a lot of fun, and I really love that they added it to the game so that you can raise your potential, and there's pretty much no limit from what I've seen, because even in my complete file here, where I've played it a long time after completing it, I've never reached the maximum potential for your character, so you can always become stronger. So aside from doing these minigames and raising your potential, then going to schools and becoming stronger, you can learn new abilities and you could build your own fighting style, which sounds really good, but you can build 4 different fighting styles here, and you can attach them to the controller to switch them in the middle of your matches. You can build these fighting styles which are 4 attacks long, and then you can build 4 different fighting techniques, and you can add them to the controller, and you can change them with the shoulder buttons. Each time you get a sword, you can look at its status and see what the percentage of unlocked moves you have. Once you completely unlock all of the moves for your sword, you should probably stick with that one because it's probably the most powerful sword that you have, but you can switch to other swords and unlock them, but you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket because your sword can break. If you get into a duel here and something happens within the duel, I guess your sword has durability here, it can break. And there's also a test one of the mini games here, which you can actually use one of your swords and cut a samurai helmet in half, and it's sitting on this table, and if you fail that mini game, then your sword breaks and you gotta send it off for repair for a few weeks it takes, and then you gotta use one of your other swords in the meantime. Another really great thing about this game is that as you're playing through, taking down all of these schools and defeating the teachers, after a while, your own reputation builds, and then you are invited by the Shogun himself to participate in a tournament for him, and then at that tournament, you're using real swords. And that was what I would consider to be the ending of the game. That's pretty much the end right there, but there's so much in-game content here that it really makes it a whole lot of fun, and there's a whole lot of replay value to this, because after you win this tournament and you're proven to the Shogun or whatever, you have your own school, and then you have to defend it against other people that are trying to come and attack you. So you can defend your own school, you can still fight against other people and their schools, because new schools pop up and you can re-challenge them and whatnot, and still you get invited to other tournaments as well. The combat is so realistic. You can get different stances, and certain stances are better against other stances, like you'll have a down stance, a middle stance, a high stance. You get different stances which have different attacks to them, which work better, and you can kind of counter people's counters, and it's a very technical game to play, but the controls are very intuitive, and it's pretty simple, and I think anyone can learn it. I remember back when I was playing this game, back when PS2 was still relevant mostly, I would play with some of my friends that hated anything samurai. They hated, they're just that type of person that really doesn't care about this sort of thing, and they enjoyed playing the game, and they even won matches against me. So it's easy to pick up the game and learn it and play it and really enjoy it. So having said that, the multiplayer here is another aspect of this game which adds to its greatness, because it's so fun. You get the 1 versus 1 single matches, and you also get tournaments, so that just with 2 controllers, you can hook up with a whole bunch of your friends on there and have everybody playing against each other in this giant tournament, and it is a lot of fun. I cannot stress that enough. So moving on to the presentation here, the graphics are pretty bad. This came out in the year 2000, and it's possible that even for the year 2000, they look pretty bad as well. I think that this could possibly pass as a PS1 game, because they're that bad, but it's really not about the graphics, it's about the gameplay, about the playability of the game, because it is a lot of fun to play this. So anyways, Kengo, Master of Bushido, one of my favorite PS2 games of all time, a game that you've probably never heard of that I really recommend for you to check out. You can get it real cheap now, because you can buy it used or new somewhere really cheap, I'm sure. Anyways, go ahead, check this game out. If you've played Kengo, Master of Bushido, or any of the other games, let me know your thoughts about them in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.